Could Toronto be walking straight into a trap with their latest free agent pursuit? The hockey world loves a good mystery, and right now Jack Roslovic is serving up one of the biggest puzzles of the offseason. Here we are in mid-August, and this former Carolina Hurricanes forward is still sitting on the sidelines without a contract. For Toronto Maple Leafs fans who've been following every rumor and speculation, this situation is starting to feel less like an opportunity and more like a warning sign flashing in bright red letters. Let's be brutally honest about what we're seeing here. When a player with Roslovic's offensive credentials is still available this deep into August, it's not because 31 NHL teams are sleeping on hidden talent. It's because there are legitimate concerns about what he brings to the table, especially when you factor in the asking price and expectations that come with it. The Leafs Morning Take recently put their finger on exactly what's making everyone nervous about this situation. Their analysis cuts right to the heart of the matter. If Carolina, one of the league's most successful and well-managed organizations, decided they didn't want to bring Roslovic back, shouldn't that tell us something important? Carolina isn't exactly known for letting valuable players walk away for nothing. They're a team that maximizes every asset and squeezes production out of role players better than almost anyone in the league. So when they look at Jack Roslovic and decide he doesn't fit their plans moving forward, that's not a decision they made lightly. The numbers tell an interesting but incomplete story. Roslovic has managed to hit the 20-goal mark exactly twice in his NHL career. Outside of those 2 seasons, he's averaging less than 10 goals per campaign. For a player who's supposedly being pursued as a secondary scoring option, that's not exactly the consistency you want to see. But here's where it gets really concerning for Toronto. Under Auston Matthews' leadership, the Maple Leafs have been building an identity around accountability, defensive responsibility, and playing the right way in all 3 zones. Roslovic's track record suggests he might struggle with exactly those aspects of the game that Matthews and head coach Sheldon Keefe have been emphasizing. The defensive side of Roslovic's game has been a persistent question mark throughout his career. In today's NHL, where every forward needs to contribute defensively and buy into team concepts, bringing in a player who might be a liability in his own zone could disrupt the culture that Matthews has been working so hard to establish. Think about it from Matthews' perspective. He's taken on a captain's role and is trying to lead this team to their first Stanley Cup since 1967. The last thing he needs is to be dealing with a teammate who might not fully commit to the defensive structure or who could become a target for opposing teams to exploit. The financial aspect makes this even more complicated. Reports suggest Roslovic is looking for a deal worth more than $3 million. For a Toronto team that's always dancing on the salary cap tightrope, that's not insignificant money. If you're going to commit that kind of cap space to a player, you need to be absolutely certain they're going to deliver consistent value. The Leafs Morning Take made a particularly insightful observation about the odds here. They pointed out that statistically, the probability of this signing not working out is actually higher than the chances of it being successful. That's not the kind of risk profile you want when you're a team with championship aspirations and limited margin for error. What makes the situation even more frustrating is the timing. We're well into August. Training camps are approaching, and Toronto still has roster holes to fill. The longer they wait on Roslovic, the fewer alternatives become available. It's starting to feel like they might be putting themselves in a position where they have to overpay for a player they're not even sure they want. The optimistic scenario, as analysts have noted, would see Roslovic slide into Toronto's second or third line and provide that secondary scoring punch they've been missing. Maybe playing alongside more talented line mates would unlock some untapped potential. Maybe the change of scenery would reinvigorate his career. Maybe he'd find chemistry with Matthews or John Tavares that would elevate everyone's game. But that's a lot of maybes for a team that can't afford to gamble with their championship window. Toronto has built something special with their current core, and Matthews' leadership has been a crucial part of establishing the right culture and expectations. Bringing in a player who might not fit that mold could set them back significantly. The most telling aspect of this entire situation might be the silence from other teams. If Roslovic was such an obvious fit somewhere, wouldn't he have been signed by now? The fact that multiple organizations have looked at the situation and passed suggests there are concerns that go beyond just salary negotiations. For Toronto specifically, there's also the question of whether Roslovic would even want to embrace the role they'd need him to play under Matthews' leadership. Every player is expected to put team success ahead of individual statistics. Players who come to Toronto need to understand that they're joining something bigger than themselves, and not everyone is cut out for that kind of environment. The Maple Leafs have made significant strides in building a winning culture, and Matthews deserves a lot of credit for that transformation. The last thing they should do is jeopardize that progress by bringing in a player who might not fully buy into what they're trying to accomplish. As we sit here analyzing the situation, it's becoming clearer that sometimes the best moves are the ones you don't make. Toronto might be better served looking elsewhere for their offensive depth, rather than taking an expensive gamble on a player who comes with more questions than answers. The Jack Roslovic situation is a perfect example of why successful teams need to trust their instincts and stick to their principles. Under Auston Matthews' leadership, the Maple Leafs have established standards for what they want from their players. If Roslovic can't meet those standards, then no amount of potential offensive upside is worth the risk of disrupting what they built. What do you think, Leafs fans? Is Jack Roslovic worth the gamble? Or should Toronto look elsewhere for their offensive help? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.